Hi, I'm Jelena.
I'm David.
And welcome to our tutorial on jump throughs and jump backs.
Yes.
You've been asking about these quite a bit, we hear.
Yeah, they're kind of, everybody wants to do a jump back, right? We have a very extensive kind of resource on our website for jumping back and jumping through. So this is going to be more of like a teaser where we're going to show you 5 steps, helpful steps, and they'll make a difference for you. But if you really want to go in depth into the work, check out some of these courses on our website because they really build you into it. But if you don't want to go there, that's okay. But make sure to subscribe, please. And comment below. Tell us if you like this video or what you want to see, something like that. Let us know you're here.
And of course, like this video too.
Yeah, like it. All right, so like I said, we're going to look at 5 steps, and these are progressive steps. So we're going to start with the most kind of accessible version of the jump back, and then we'll get progressively more difficult with each step. Ideally, each of these steps leads to the next. So they kind of give you a direction to work in. And the last step is the one where you float through, where we all want to go.
Also, remember that step 1 is just as good as step 5. And step 1 up to step 5 are all correct versions. So all of them are good. It doesn't make you any better if you're able to do step 5. It's not a measure of how much of a yogi you are.
Yeah, we see lots of people walk in and are able to do a jump back the first day.
Yep.
Not lots, I guess, but some. Has a lot to do with your build and things like that. But it's true, in terms of following the vinyasa count, you don't need to be able to float through or whatever. You can do the vinyasa correctly with all of these versions. Yeah, and that's also another thing that you can find on our website, or we'll talk about some other time, which is the structure, the overall structure of the vinyasa count for jumping back and jumping through. Very important to know that if you want to deepen your practice.
And if it's helpful to you, know that when I practice, depending on what's happening in my life and what's happening that day, I utilize all of these steps. All steps. Sometimes it's the fancy one and I can just float and it's fine. And sometimes it's all about just crawling and making it, just showing up.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with step 1. And I'll just go very quickly through hand position and the shoulder work. We'll talk about that again some other time more specifically. But basically, all you need to know is that your hands should be slightly wider than your shoulders, just slightly, maybe the inside edge of your hand in line with the middle or the outside of your shoulder. And the creases of your wrists need to be parallel to the front line of the mat, okay? And spread your fingers, clutch the fingers down into the floor so your hands are active, and try to keep the index knuckle of your hands on the floor. So spinning your arms in just a little bit will help you, and push into the hands to round your upper back. So you can see when Jelena presses into the hands and creates this dome shape, she's also creating a lot of space between the arms for the legs to come through. So she's very actively pressing the floor away. Okay, this is the same for every version of the jump back that we're going to look at. Okay, so step 1. This is assuming that you can bend your knees, that you don't have a problem here. If you do have problems with knee flexion, then you're going to have to swing your legs around like this and go back. Okay, that's probably the only option we have that lets us get by without putting any weight on the feet with the knees bent. Assuming your knees are okay, then we're going to cross the legs and bring the arms under the knees, hands in front of the feet. Okay, arms under the knees, hands in front of the feet, hands are in the position that we just described. And then on the inhale, Jelena is going to rock forward onto her hands and see she's creating that round back shape. And then on the exhale, she'll step back or hop back and lower down into Chaturanga Dandasana. Inhale, upward dog, exhale, downward dog. We want to keep saying that. And then she'll do the reverse. Just for the sake of explication, we're going to do the same one in reverse. That might not be the case when you're doing your practice. So on the inhale, Jelena will step or hop. She'll cross the legs, and the feet stay behind the hands. The knees come between the arms, and then from there, she's just going to sit down. Step one, the easy one, the accessible one. Step two. Step two is a lot like step one. The only difference now is that the hands are going to go behind the feet. But this is actually a huge difference in the amount of work that you have to do, because now you have to walk the feet through the hands. And the rule is you're not allowed to lift the hands off the floor. Okay, you got to keep pressing down through the hands. So it comes from the arms and the shoulders. So inhale, you lift your bum up, and then start your exhale, walk the feet through until you're where you were for step one, and then go back. Upward dog, downward dog, and then in reverse, on the inhale, bend the knees, step or hop, so you land like step one, but then don't sit down, push through your hands, keep the back round, walk the feet through. Once they're through, then you can sit down. And that's all in an inhale.
This is the hardest.
Yeah, step two is actually very hard. And if you haven't been doing it and you introduce it into your practice, it's going to make you tired, but it'll also make you really strong. Look at Jelena.
And if you get a cramp when you do it here, totally fine. I always get it when I demonstrate it. Yeah, right down here.
Yeah, I only get it on one side, but it's like, yeah. Okay, good. So building on step two, we go to step three. Step three is going to start like step two with the hands behind the feet. And notice they're just in front of the hips as well. But now she's going to introduce utplati, kind of lift up. So she's going to bring the knees towards the shoulders and then rock forward and try to keep the feet off the floor as she lifts the hips. Inhale, and then exhale, feet come down, walk through like step two, hop back. Upward dog, downward dog. When we're going through, inhale, step or hop, like step two, walk through, but before you sit down, you're gonna lift again, lift, and then sit down, all on the inhale. Step three. Okay, building on step three. Step four, now we're going to introduce a little bit of a swinging action, and Jelena is going to try to minimize the contact of the feet on the floor. So she's going to try to go through quick. Maybe they just drag or touch as she goes back. So she'll inhale, lift up, and then exhale, hop back. Okay, so we get rid of the walk that we had in step three. Now we just have a tap. Same thing going through. Probably your feet will drag or slide along the mat. That's okay. Really, step four is kind of about it's kind of what happens when we're reaching for step five, you know?
And it's also a place where you usually get stuck for a few years.
Yeah, that's true. This is a common question in the workshops when we're teaching. Yeah. This is, how do I get off of this one? I've been there a long time.
So you might notice when you're doing it that you're doing that quick tap and that the tap is happening, these are my feet, that the tap is happening with both of your feet. What you can start to do and see if you can just tap with one foot. So you're minimizing the contact, which is what David was exactly saying, so that there is less and less. And then even the duration of the contact then becomes less and less over time. Yeah. But it usually takes years.
And the trick is speed. I mean, really, that's speed, right? The less time your feet are on the floor, the faster it's going. But the trick is, I think, to shoot the legs back as fast as you possibly can, right? You know what I mean? So you eventually just skip the tap.
I think part of it is almost letting go, because we get so caught up and so worked with trying to break down the technique and start thinking about every single movement that we do exact opposite. We slow it down so much and we lose the momentum that we built from the swing. We lose it because we get so in our head over it. So that's why we always say speed, just go for it.
Watching people work on it, that's exactly what happens. Because it's hard, that spot where the feet touch because it's so hard. Yeah. So you just want to zip by that spot as quick as you can.
And then another useful tip, if you are stuck in step 4 to progress in step 5, and you'll see it in a second when I demonstrate it, is really encouraging yourself to bend the elbows. So that entails shifting more weight forward, which can be scary, but it's also really difficult because now you're bending the elbows and putting so much weight into your arms. But you have to think chin and chest forward, which will create the space for legs to go back.
Yeah, when the shoulders come down, the hips go up, right? Because they're connected with the spine. Yeah. So step 5?
Step 5.
Okay. So remember, this is how we started with step 3 and 4, the Utplati lift on the inhale, and then exhale, shoulders go forward as the feet fly back. Yeah. And then same going through. Jelena will keep pressing through the hands. Inhale, she comes through, feet don't touch the floor. Yeah. It sounds terrible, like not good teaching, but the secret to this is to press through the hands. To really keep pushing through the hands. And when you can finally do that jump through without the feet touching, it's easier than the ones where the feet touch.
Absolutely. Step 2 and 3, I think, are the hardest steps. Even for someone like me who can do step 5 now, no problem. The ability to float actually gives it so much ease. But step 2 and 3, you realize how much work it is in the body, but that's exactly what you wanted. That's gonna build the strength for you to be then able to flow through without feet touching the floor.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it's slower as well, right? When you're walking and crawling through, you have to stay with the work longer. Yeah. So when you can do that quick thing, it's over faster.
Step 2 and 3 give me cramps. Step 5,
nothing.
So I think that's just also another way of talking about all the work that happens.
So what we suggest when you're doing this, when you're working on it, first, figure out what step you're on. You know from watching this, I do. And it's probably a mix, I mentioned earlier. So you might do step 2 or step 3 jumping back, and then step 4 or 5 jumping through, fine, whatever. Figure out where you are. And then in your practice, see if you can start working towards the next step. And we give you a bunch of tips from 4 to 5, but the other ones are more obvious, I think. It's within your ability to kind of start introducing it. You'll get really tired, especially moving from step 1 to step 2. You'll get so tired at first that it's kind of unimaginable doing that through the entire practice. Don't worry about it. Just do it as much as you can, and then when you're too tired, you can't bring yourself to do it anymore, then crawl back or whatever, go back to the easier version. And then when you get more energy, start trying to do the hard version again.
That's the truth of it, that you have to choose to do the work. So you have to commit to it. And even if it feels like you're not gonna do it, you still have to keep reaching for it. So for me, I kind of created a structure in my head where I decided from this pose to this pose, I was gonna do the hardest one. And then after that, I was gonna let go and do the easier version. Or I know some people like to alternate. So one asana, you do the difficult version, and then the other asana, you do an easier version. So whatever it is, but just commit to it, stick to it, and over time you'll see that the change does happen, of course.
Okay, so like we mentioned, there are a lot of resources for this on our website. Check out those courses, we're proud of them. And hopefully you'll find these steps helpful in your own practice. If you do, please let us know in the comments section. Please subscribe, like us, and tell your friends. Thanks so much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.